Today, we are gonna do a full walkthrough of Gohighlevel Forms. We're gonna show you how to create the form, we're gonna show you how to automate the form, and we're also gonna show you different ways that forms can appear on your funnels, your websites, or even in a site outside of HighLevel itself. So stay tuned and build along with us. Now, when you first come in, you're gonna go over to the left-hand side. You're gonna be in your dashboard. You're gonna go over to the left-hand side and you're gonna go in Sites. Inside of Sites, you're gonna notice that there is a top menu item here. What we're gonna do is we're gonna focus on forms today. Inside of forms, we're gonna go directly to the builder because we're gonna first build our form, automate the forms, and show you how you can put them inside your different websites. So let's go ahead and build one. So we're gonna click on Builder. And as you can see, we have create a folder and add a form. So we're gonna create a folder. We're gonna create this lead magnet because that's usually the first form that you usually build out. And we're just going to call it lead magnets because every lead magnet that we're going to build, the forms that we're going to leverage and use are going to be inside of here. So what we're going to do is inside that folder, and you can have your folders right here. I can click in that folder and add a form. Inside a form, the first thing you always want to do is make sure you name it. So we're going to call this lead magnet. And again, we're just going to say number 1. All right, make it super easy. You would name it whatever you want. We would put lead magnet, add a couple colons in there, just kind of segregate it, but I want to make sure it's named properly. Naming inside of this system is incredibly important because that's how you find things when you're creating the automations. So make sure, again, you're labeling it correctly. And all we did was go to the builder, we added a folder, we created a form, and then the first thing when we came in, we went to options. Now that you're done, we're gonna go into fields. Now fields, you're gonna have a couple of custom fields that you're gonna leverage. These are all the ones that are already pre-made with the system. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna drag the ones over. Now, we always like to do first name and last name. Some people just like the first name. We like them both because it helps differentiate between the clients, and we use automations to use the contact name. So I always ask for first name and last name. The next thing we do is ask for phone number. And if you're going to just generate a lead magnet, we're going to keep it very simple because we're going to do the simple form first, then we're going to get a little bit into more complex forms. All right, now that we've built this, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to come over to button because we want to submit button and we want to personalize it. And you notice that the second I added the button, let me do that again slowly. I come over here. I'm going to go to fields again. Remember, we're in fields and we're in standard fields. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and just move around the button. I'm going to click on the button. And I'm going to come here, and this will be grab my lead magnet. All right. Obviously, it will be grab my 100 ways to get new clients or whatever else that you're going to do. I'm going to come in here, and obviously, you want to spell. And what's cool is you can now, if I click on it, and it gets a little tricky, you can bold it. Got to be really careful because it is very sensitive. And if you move it too much, it doesn't like that. If you want to use a little subtext, that means a text underneath it. You would do like limited number, something like that. Notice that it's in a different color, but we'll get to that in a second. And if for whatever reason, if it clicks out of it, just click back in and it should work. But you notice how it's all the way to the left and it's gray and it like kind of doesn't look real good. Well, here, if you scroll down to the bottom, you now have this ability. Believe it or not, we did not have this back then. So I actually want to make this, oh, that's a little too pink for me. Let's try to make it red. It's a little too weird for me too. So bright red, there you go, like that color. Fantastic. And maybe I want a little bit of a shadow. So I could create a little bit of a blur, a spread. You could do all this, but I want to keep it super simple. I do want to make it full width because I want the whole entire thing. And I do want to make it a little bit bigger. So here's the padding, here's the text size. And let's make that a little bit bigger. And notice that the subtext, the color is, I need it white. So I'm just going to change this over to white. So I'm going to drag that over here. Awesome. And then if I wanted to make that a little bit bigger, I could. And I could change the fonts and everything else. But now I got a pretty simplistic lead form. And honestly, this is pretty much it. Now, what I want to do first with the simple, because what we do with the simple, we're going to do with the complex because it's all the way of how you're going to move it over. I'm going to show you how you're going to add these inside your funnels that you created here. And then I'm also going to show you how you can add the different types. Now, I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And before I do, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit integrate form because there's now all these different selections of how you want to embed the form. Now, for instance, if I wanted the form to be always on the sticky sidebar, and meaning that the second somebody comes onto my site, I want it on the left, I'm going to do this embedded layout. If I wanted to slowly slide in, I would do this one on the right. And if I wanted to just pop up, I would do this middle one. And inline means I want the form actually embedded inside of the funnel and everything else. Now, The inline and the pop-up are already natively inside of HighLevel, so you don't need to do anything different. But if you want these two features, the sticky sidebar or the polite, you're gonna have to embed the code, and I'm gonna show you how to do that, right? And again, you can do it on the shows on scrolling, which means that if they're scrolling, this will always be on, and this is more for these two. And then same thing with activate options on how many visits, always activated, and then deactivation options after showing this many times. Now we can go ahead and set these now, but what we're gonna do is, again, for stop scrolling, if I would show it scrolling after they're doing like 25%, or you could do it by seconds. You can always show. Again, very different rules of marketing of how you want to do this, but you kind of play with it and see what best works for you. Activate on certain many visits, I want that off, but I do want it to deactivate after it shows like 3 times. I think after 3 times, if they didn't get it then, they're not going to get it at any point. So I'm going to go ahead and hit done. All right, and remember, I'm just going to show you how to embed the first 2, and then we're going to work on the 3rd and the 4th. So I'm going to come over here to sites. Now that I have my lead magnet number 1, I'm going to go to my sites, which I'm already here. So all you have to technically do is, after you save the form, remember, make sure you save, because this is not an automatic save. Super important, had to learn that the hard way. So make sure you save. You're going to go over to funnels, and I have a funnel here, right? So I have an option here when I come in here. Make believe I wanted the lead magnet to just kind of show up like right after here, or let's say in the bottom part here. So I'm going to come over here. I am in my funnel, and I'm going to hit that little plus sign or the element, or I can click on elements up on top here and add element. Both the plus sign or going up here will do the same thing. And because I'm using a HighLevel form, I can click on the form right here, select the form that I want, boom, and here's my form. All right, now I can go ahead and hit save. But what if I want the same exact form when it comes to the pop-up? Well, if you want anything to show up in a pop-up, you got to click on pop-up up here. And here, same thing, I can add a little column here for a headline and just say, please fill out this form. You know, again, it could be whatever it is, your lead magnet, you know, grab before you leave, grab my, 100 examples of Google ads or Facebook ads or something like along that way, whatever, kind of makes it easier for you. Then same thing, I can either hit the element, add an element here, or I can hit the little orange plus sign, because that is the element item in here. And what I can do is I can go to my form, and it's going to be, I think I just passed it, boom, and go ahead and select my form. Boom, there we go, all right? And I'm gonna hit save on both. Now with a pop-up, something else that I wanna make sure you see, I have pop-up settings that shows up in a blue box. Now, if you click on pop-up settings and you go to the bottom left-hand side, you're gonna notice that the settings are right here, and it tells you exactly all the way to do. One, you can give it padding, things all around it to make it look nice. You can add a background image, like maybe you want, like, let's say some kind of marble image. So if I come in here and I put in, I don't know, we'll do Pixel Bay, or actually backgrounds. I think they have backgrounds. Oh, this looks cool. Let's do this. Look at that. Now that you have a really cool background, you can make this headline white. So let's make it white. So cool, that looks pretty cool. If I click on this form, or actually on the pop-up settings again, remember this big blue box up here? You have all these settings you can do here. And then you have disable the pop-up, meaning you don't want it to show. If you do, a little exclamation part will show. But if you kind of want it to show, that's great. And if people can close it on clicking outside, I always turn that on. I just think it's convenient when people can close out of that. Some people don't. Again, all up to you. And then show pop-up on exit, you can turn that on. And if you want this to be the full entire page where the whole pop-up shows up in the whole page, you can do full page. I believe medium is good, but a lot of people like the full page instead. You can set it up here, and then you can have it show up on exit. That means if somebody tries to exit the page or tries to leave the page or hit the back button, this thing will pop up, which is pretty effective. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave that on, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and hit save, and let's just see what it looks like in the preview so you kind of see it. And then see, if I try to leave or I scroll too much around, because I'm trying to go back up to the top part, this will actually pop up. Pretty cool, but that's not the way it works. Now, let me go over the other two settings, because those are a little bit more confusing to set up. So I'm actually gonna come over here into the top part of this. I'm gonna hit the duplicate button. When I hit the duplicate button, what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna go back to the form settings, because I wanna show you something. So if I come over here, I'm in sites again, I'm gonna go to forms, and I'm gonna go to builder. And then I'm gonna go to this lead magnet form. What if I want this sticky sidebar to happen? I'm going to click on the sticky sidebar and it chooses which side do I want. I want it to show up on the right-hand side. And I want it to always show, and I always want it activated, okay? And what I'm going to do is allow it to minimize, yeah, because we want to make sure it can be small and minimize title will be grab your links. And I'll show you how this looks because this is pretty cool. All right, a little effective way. It's not as abrupt. It looks pretty cool. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the embed code. All right, it's copied to clipboard. See that? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just anywhere on here. It doesn't really matter. I usually put it towards the bottom. That's just my preference. Again, you don't have to do that. You can do something else. But for instance, right after this row, I'll add like a column here. I'll add an element. And you don't even have to add a column really. I just do it because that's what I'm used to. I come in here, I add a custom JavaScript and HTML. Open the editor, come in here, paste, and I'm gonna go ahead and hit save. Okay, I'm gonna hit save again. Now we're gonna have a lot of pop-ups, but this would be interesting. So I'm gonna come over here. Let's see what happens. Notice, you see, and that scrolling effect that's always there. Now, remember, you can make it smaller. You can put some images behind it. You can put an image on top of it. You can make it look really, really nice. You know what I'm saying? So here, and if I want to minimize it, notice how cool that looks. It comes right here on the left-hand side. Now that was the sticky sidebar. What if I want like a polite slide in? Same concept. You come in here, allow for minimize, grab your links kind of thing here. I want it to also show up on the right-hand side. I want it to, again, always show, always activate it and deactivate after show 3 times. So I'm going to hit done. Oop, I didn't want to do that. Hold on, let's do that again. My bad. Polite slide in. Come in here. Grab your links, okay. Always activated, always show. Great. I'm going to copy this embed code. Look at that. Copy to clipboard. Come back over here. This time, I'm going to change this code to the one that we just did. So I'm going to Control A or Command A, depending if you have an Apple. Come over here, and this is all done. And I'm going to go ahead and hit yes, save. Cool. Now let's look and see what that looks like. So I'm going to close out of this one. And I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And then after I hit save, I'm going to hit preview. And look, see, a little bit more of a slide in towards the bottom part. I can always, minimize it. And then you see it's all the way down at the bottom. Pretty cool. Well, what if you have a website? No problem. Let's go to a WordPress site. I'm going to pause to go there. So here I have an actual WordPress site. So what I can do is if I come over here and I just hit the little plus sign now, this is Divi. This is inside WordPress. You can use Elementor. We're big fans of Divi. I mean, all of them are very different. But if I wanted to have it inside of this website, again, kind of follows the same rule. I would add a row. Inside the row, I'm looking for a code element. And again, it's going to be different. I think if I just type in code, each one of them will have a different kind of name, but it's basically where you can put in an actual iframe or a code. All right. And notice I have this here. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And it would be the same exact thing. You would go and preview it and the code will be right there. Right. Again, everything is going to be different. I can't go over all the different settings you would have to do inside of Wix, WordPress or whatever, but wherever you can embed a code, that's where this would go. And it would be based on, again, whichever one you selected, whether it's the pop-up, the inline, or whatever else. You're going to grab that embed code and go directly from there. Now, I strongly don't recommend that you don't ever just copy the form link. We've had experiences where people get a lot of 404s or it's declined just because it will use, well, I'll just show it to you. So if I copy the form link, look how it comes out. See, it uses the API Lead Connector HQ, and it just goes here. See, it's all the way up at the top. It doesn't really look good, so I never recommend just doing a raw form link. That's what we call it, a raw form link. Don't do that because it does create some issues, all right? So always put it in a web page of some sort, a funnel page of some sort, anything with branding and logo. That makes sense. You can keep it very simple, but we recommend doing that. But that's all it is. You would come in here and customize it the way you want. You would copy the embed code, and then you would hit done, all right? So now let's go a little bit more into complex situations where you want to add different choices, right? So if I now wanted to add a more complex question, right? Now we're going to create another form. So here, let's go back to our builder. Let's create a folder. And let's make believe this is an application. All right. And I'm going to go ahead and create the folder for it. Inside the folder, I'm going to go ahead and hit applications, and I'm going to add my first application. So come in here, and again, what do I do first? I click on the top part, go to options, and this is going to be coaching application. All right, inside of here, now that I have it named, I'm going to go to fields. I'm going to go first name, last name. I am definitely getting a phone number from you if you want coaching services. So I'm also going to go back to first name and last name and hit required. Now, we didn't do that on the first one, and we should have done that, but you can come in here and again, first name, last name, phone number, and email, and you can go ahead and hit required. The other thing you can do is I can come over here, and in phone, I can put where it says placeholder. If I come in here and click on phone, I can just delete that and hit cell phone. All right. And if I believe I'm going to have somebody in a different country, I can select the country picker, which will give them a little drop down that they can select their countries. All right. For instance, for now, I'm going to leave that off, but we have that on. Email, same thing. Your real email. All right. I just think that's funny because some people I don't know why, but they always get some poor emails in there. And then if I really wanted to find out what city they're in or state or country, I could go in. So I'm going to put in state because I do really want to know what state they're from. I also want to make sure I go in, and if they have an organization name, we're going to move that over. Oh, let's just put it there. This will be organization. The placeholder, I'm going to put company name. Oh. I'm not going to leave that required because maybe it's a personal client. So again, I'm not going to leave required, and I am going to drop it to the bottom there. And notice how I can add and drop and move these any which way that I want. Now gets to the more complex questions, right? I want to know what is your goal? What do you want? Right? So I'm going to come over here and just do a multi-line, where they can write multiple lines. I'm going to go ahead and hit next. And in here, I'm going to type in, what goal are you trying to achieve? Okay. Hit the little question mark. And the object is a contact. Okay, because that's always what it's going to be. But here in group is, well, do I want it in the contact area, the general info, or an additional info? And you're like, what the heck are you talking about? Where is that? If you come back over here and I back out of the funnel, right? Remember, I went to a different tab. And if I come here into the contact area, you could see that inside the contact area, there's contact, there's general info, and additional info. Where I decide to shove those into, meaning, do I want this to show up in the contact area here, or do I want it to show up in the general area or in the additional info? And that's basically where this is going to dictate. So for instance, here, I want an additional info, and I want to make sure that that's pretty much it. You can have additional preferences as far as unique key. I would not mess with the unique key. I would leave it, there. And if you wanted to pre-fill a value, you can do it here. And if you wanted to say something is, put in at least your main goal and any other. Okay, gonna go ahead and hit save. And now that it's created, I can move this over and notice how it comes in, right? Now, the thing is, and then what's really cool is there are a multitude of a lot of this. So for instance, what is your revenue goal? This is what I want next. What is your revenue goal? All right, I can come over here, select the group, additional info, if in dollars per month, something like that, right? Now I got that, and notice it's waiting for a dollar amount. I'd add another custom field. What if I want just a number or a phone number or another phone number, like their business phone? I can go ahead and do all that. And the checkbox list, so for instance, I go to next. This is pretty cool. This is gonna be choose what area you need help in, okay? And then it's gonna be email, ads, SEO, something like that, right? And the group is gonna also be additional info. I'm gonna hit save, and let's move that one over and see what that looks like. So probably not a good example, but as you can see, I can have other areas in here. I actually don't like that at all, so I'm gonna get rid of that. And you're like, well, wait a second, I messed up. How do I get rid of this field? I don't want it lingering around. Then what you can do is, again, really cool thing that you can do, come over here, go to settings, go to custom fields, go to all, because you see it only shows 10. These are the main ones. Don't ever touch these in the context area. So I just go to folders and I work off of the additional info because that's where I've been adding. That's a good way to like kind of navigate, because you're like, oh my God, you might have like 100 of them. Go to folders, and anything in the general and the info are the ones. Again, this is why I put pretty much everything in the additional info. And what I do is the one I just created, let's see, what area you need help in, I can come over here and delete. Okay. Now that that's deleted, I can come back over here. I can go ahead and hit save form. And anytime I delete something there, I need to like refresh in order for it to like be okay. Cool. Well, don't know why it did that, because we just saved. So let's figure out what just happened there. That was odd. All right, so here we are. Now let's keep going down the custom fields. All right, radio button. If you want like a single selection, I go ahead and hit radio button. And again, let's try that here with that same question. What would you like help in? And my English is awful, but you get the point. Additional info again. Come in here, email, SEO. Only if I want to pick like one thing, not multiple things. And I'm going to show you how to do the multiple in a second. And let's say this is, I don't know, ads. Okay. And now it's created a radio button. All right, cool. And I can make all these that I want required because I don't want them missing certain questions. The company name, I said they could be an individual, so I left that open. But you get it. So you see how we're flowing through this? You can just create a lot of really cool things. You can even add a file upload or a signature. But let's go to the drop down multiple. This is the one that allows them to select multiple. So again, what have you tried so far? All right, again, additional info. This is going to be coach, add an option, course, because they might select multiple, service, something like that, right? Again, these are not, I'm not really cultivating here a massive, really cool application. This is just more for the simple fact of doing it, right? And it's, notice it's going to have a drop down, and we're going to go over what it looks like in a second. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save form. But if I wanted to quickly see what it looks like, I can use open a form link just to see it. And what happens if I select that? See, it saves both. Cool, right? But notice that ugly submit button. We'll fix that in a second. But that's if I wanted to quickly see. So let's just get rid of this, and this, and we'll go back to here. And let's go back to our form, which I didn't save. So now it's probably not going to be there. So I'm going to go to sites, go to forms, go to builder, go to our folders, go to our application. I just like doing it this way. It's a little bit more organized and defining. What have you tried so far? And then what was the question I added? Yeah, perfect. And then again, if I wanted to like upload any relevant files, right? What's really cool is upload any relevant files. So file upload, hit next, and it'll be upload your any relevant files. And it could be, I don't know, something, it doesn't matter. Again, just doing it for example purposes. I want to allow for multiple files. The max limit is I want to allow for 5 files, and I'm going to allow all these different ones, right? So I'm going to click on all these. Oh, just hit all, which would probably be smarter, and then hit save, right? Cool. Now I have a way for them to upload documents directly in here. And what if what if we want like a signature? So I can come over here, go into sign, hit next, come in here. You're committing to showing up. Sign below. I don't know. Again, just having some fun with it. And then come over here. Again, additional info. Hit save. Drop this down to the bottom. And now make that required. Make the other one. I'm not going to make the relevant file required because they might not have any files. But if they do, hey, include them. Cool. And again, I want a nicer button. So I'm going to go back. Remember, we were in the custom fields. I want to go back to standard and go to button. Click on button. That's a weird. See, something happened here. So let's go ahead and refresh. And let's go back. And sometimes when you get into that, you know, like weird situation where that just happened, you know, just refresh. That's kind of my go-to when something goes wrong in the system. See, because now it's not there. And then submit your application. And then hit, make that a big A. There we go. Little space. All right. Oop. Come back over here. And we want that to be full width. And again, I like my red buttons. Not that red. Okay, cool. And again, if you want to make the font bigger, scroll down, make the font bigger. And you, again, purpose of this is to kind of walk you through of like how this works. So now you got your form with all these different values. Now the cool part about this is, again, same way you embedded before. You would go in, you would embed it into a page. You can have it as a sidebar. Wouldn't recommend an application on the side because it's going to be way too long and it's going to look weird and awkward. But you can embed it in an application page where people can click on this and go ahead and fill it out. Now, there's two things also on options. Now, if they submit and you want them to go to a different page, you can put in here where they're going to go open a URL and it goes to the thank you page. That tells them the next steps. You can put your pixel ID in here and you can fire off an event. Like for instance, when somebody fills this out, let's say you're using Facebook, you can have it where you do a submit application, which would be perfect, right? That's exactly what it is. And if you want sticky contacts, if they've auto-filled a previous form, it would automatically go in here. The only thing is I would use a lot of caution with that because it uses a lot of pre-filled items. We have not had a lot of luck with sticky contacts, so I don't recommend using that. But if you're so inclined, go ahead and do so. But on submit, as you can see, it comes in here, open URL and go there. If you want it on the same page as saying a thank you message, you would switch this to message, and then you would just write your message here that says, hey, thank you so much for submitting your application. It'll be reviewed shortly. We always like going to a thank you page. So we set up the thank you page to be https://google.com for now, but yours would be whatever your thank you page is. And we would go ahead and save form. Now that we have a lead magnet form and we also have an application, let's automate it so we understand how this happens and how we leverage this tool to be all that it can be. So I'm going to go to automations on the left-hand side, and I'm going to create an automation for my lead magnet because that's super easy, right? So I'm going to go lead magnets. I'm going to create a folder. I'm big on creating folders. You can number them, which is really, really smart. So for instance, we can do 0, 1 because lead magnets are usually the first step people take to get introduced to you. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save, and I'm planning on having more than one. That's why I label it lead magnets, not lead magnet. And I'm going to come over here and create my first workflow. I'm going to start from scratch, create workflow. And again, if you don't know where we are, all I did was go into automations. And then in automations, I went into created a folder in lead magnets, which was right here. I created my lead magnet folder. I clicked on it, and then I had a workflow that I created. I'm going to come in here, 0, 1, and it's going to be my lead magnet. All right, I'm going to give lead magnet, and I'm going to give it a name. It's going to be number 1. Yours will be whatever the name of the lead magnet is. Super organized. I like it this way. It just makes it super easy to navigate and know where everything is. Big on numbering and all that. Well, in an automation, you're always going to have a starting trigger. So you're going to come over here and you're going to type in form submitted, and that's what we're working off of. We created a form, so we're working off form submission. So I'm going to hit form submitted. I'm going to come over here. The form is. I have to use the filters because if I only leave the form submitted, all this automation will fire for every single form that I've created. So I'm just going to do form is. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do lead magnet number 1 because that's exactly the form that I just created. Now, what I always like to do if it's a lead magnet is I add a contact tag. So I'm going to come over here, add a contact tag, and I'll say lead magnet. You don't have to use capitals. I did it by mistake, but it won't matter because it will all go to lowercase. Number 1. Cool, and I added a tag. Now I have a tag for my lead magnet. So I know that I can now filter by everybody that's downloaded this lead magnet. Super important. All right, I come in here. If I wanted to add it to an opportunity as a fresh lead, and I had a pipeline, I don't have any pipelines here, but if I had a pipeline, I would select the pipeline, do this as a new lead, and then I would give it the opportunity name of like first name or last name or email, whatever you want, and I would go ahead and hit save action. I don't have a pipeline, so it's not going to work here. So after that, after I add my tag, after I add a pipeline, the next thing that I'm going to do is send an email out. I'm going to send an email from me, all right? So full name, email, and I'm going to give a subject line. Here is your lead magnet. And then I'm going to give it a whole bunch of information, right? So custom values, the first name of my client, contact is them, user is you. Remember, this is why the from me email says user or the from name says user. Contact first name, come over here, XXX, blah, 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 whatever you want to write. And then come in here and then user signature. I'll go over user signature in another video. But for instance, what I'm trying to do is make sure that it's coming from me. Now, the best way to assign a user, especially if you're the only one in the account, This means that see, I'm already in here as a system. It will pull my email address, it'll pull my name into this username and user email. And if I have a signature in my area, it will actually pull up the user signature in there, which if you log into the system, go to your left-hand side, go to settings and then profile. Inside your not your account profile, but your regular profile, you'll have the ability right then and there to put in a little signature that should have your name, your email, all your social followings, and links. And then at the bottom, your email, your actual address, like your business address, followed by an unsubscribe link. That's what all your email signatures should have, especially if you're sending promotional emails out. So then I have assign to user, add a tag, add an email, and so forth and so on. And now you're able to deliver on your lead magnet. One piece of advice though, you do have the ability of in an email adding an attachment. In our experience, if the lead magnet is large, it will be throttled by the email service provider, or your ISP, your internet service provider, your ISP. So when it's going in there, I would always add a link to like a Google Drive, a Dropbox, a Microsoft OneDrive link, anything that gets them to click on the link and download it itself versus storing it inside your email. Just a little bit of advice for you. Don't ever include a link in there. Always include a link. Never include the actual attachment. It just slows down your email. And I can go ahead and save action. I can actually turn this thing on and it's ready to rock and roll. Now from here, what I can do is I can now create one for the applications, right? So again, big on folders, right? I don't have an application folder. So let's go application process, all right? And I'm gonna again just label it 02 because I have the other one labeled as 01. Come in here, application, and you can start from scratch. This is where you can do some really, really, really cool things here. So if I come in here and let's just do 2.0 because this is in the number 2 folder, and I'm gonna type in application submitted. See, and I just did application submitted, and then from here, I'm gonna go into form submitted, because remember, it's still a form. I always wanna filter down to exactly the form that it is, and this time it's gonna be an application. Now, same thing, tag, right? Come over here, give them a contact tag. Oh, something's freezing up over here. Let's try this again. I'm gonna hit save. Again, if you running into stalling or something weird is happening, save and always refresh is always the way to go. I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna first assign a user like we did last time, right? It's gonna be me, or if I have multiple people that might be reviewing the application, I would assign it to that person. The second thing I'm gonna do is do a contact tag, right? Contact tag. Let's say this is gonna be application submitted. And if you have multiple applications, you would just name it. It would be a name before the application submitted. Tagging can be whatever you want. I just say keep it simple. Again, if I have a pipeline, I would create a pipeline and I would put it into an application submitted part. And then from there, I would send an internal email letting you know that I have, or a text message, whatever you want to be preferred with. And I can come in here and go to email. And again, from name, this doesn't really matter if it's internal, but I want to go into a particular user. I want to go into me. And in the subject matter, I can put application submitted from, and I'm going to put a name. Come over here, contact, full name. And then I usually copy and I put it right here at the bottom too. What's cool is if they fill out specific questions that is part of the application, you can actually pull these questions into your email. So in your email, you can actually have a little description of everything that's going on. So for instance, I can come in here and I can put in, I don't know, like I asked the question, what do you need help with? What do you need help with? Okay. Come in here and go right into contact, custom fields. What do you need help in? And it's going to pull that value in. And I can do this for every single question that's coming in. I usually do that for myself and for my clients because I want to make sure I read it in, like, even if it's in a text message, I can see the answer. I can just reach out to the client directly there and I can complete that call. Or in an email, it just makes it easier when I'm going to talk to the client. I can do it immediately. If I'm traveling, it's right then and there. So you can literally, like, again, just list every single question just the way I showed you. And sometimes I'll go back and bold the question and leave the answer normal. Just a really cool way for you to do that. Then what I can do is I'm going to send a notification to the client just letting them know that I got it. So this is send. Now remember, because I assigned a user, I can put those values in. So I can come over here, go to user, full name, email, user, email, because that's going to be my email and my name. And then I'm going to go, thank you for your application. Write a pretty awesome email. Obviously spell everything right. Come over here, contact first name. Thank you. Be in touch shortly. Again, you would write whatever phenomenal email you would write. And then I can pull my user signature, as mentioned before. Come in here, user signature's pulled. And then from here, I can do a couple cool things, even before this email goes out. So let's delete this email for now, but that would be your standard form application if you don't want to do anything fancy. But let's do some fancy things, right? So I'm going to save it. I'm going to come over here. I'm actually going to delete this email. What if I want a specific email based on the answer they selected? So what I can do here is I can do the if-else statement. This is a little bit of advanced, and I'm going to say SEO, because one of the questions is if the contact details, if the contact that's answered, they didn't want help with SEO, I want maybe a specific email that's very directive to how I can help them with SEO. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to hit select. I'm going to go all the way down to custom fields. And remember, what goal can I help you achieve? What have you tried so far? What can I help you with? Again, let me show you where that is again. I created an if-else statement. I typed in the word if, and else, and then in this condition, checking for services, because that's exactly what I'm doing. The first service is SEO, so I'm going to type it in where it said branch. And here I'm going to go to contact details. I go all the way down to custom fields. I look for the question, what can I help you with? If it's SEO, I want it to go one path, okay? If it's the same thing, this is going to be ads. I go to contact details. Let's make believe this one is, well, I first got to find the question. That's the first part. What can I help you? What would you like help in? Whatever the question is, let's say ads. And then I add another branch, and this is going to be email. And then again, contact details all the way down. What would you like help in? And this one is email, Watch what happens. Boom. I now have the ability of creating an email for specific services and even giving them a specific tag. So they might have filled out an application, but maybe they're going to be a potential client down the line. So one, I can go here and now give it a specific tag like SEO. Come over here, tag SEO. All right, add a new tag, boom. Add an email that now is very specific SEO email, SEO. And again, same thing, username, full name, user email, all right, user email. And then over here, subject line, so you like to know about SEO. And then I can come over here. It's like, hey, while I'm reviewing your application, here's some fun facts. Something like that. While reviewing your application, look at our most recent results. Something like this. You see what I'm saying? And then user signature at the end, and you would write a beautiful email, whatever else, and then you would hit save, and it would go through. So how cool is that? You can then go back and basically write one for each individual thing. So now you have a very customized experience based on the way that they answer. And now they're also tagged. And you can do additional things. Even in your pipeline, you can have an SEO column, an ads column, an email column, and maybe you have different representatives reach out to different individuals. But this is the power of a form and what you can do with it. You can even, if this form, make believe you wanted to grant them access to a membership area, you can come over here and one of the steps, just for them filling out like a free access to a user area or a membership area, you would come in here and type in membership, and you would grant them an offer to an offer you've created inside your member. Now, obviously we haven't created a membership area in here, but it's something for you to see of like how easy it is for you to actually create this and move forward. So hopefully this helps you get a full rundown on how you create a form, how you embed the form, how you create an automation in the form. So we hope you got a full understanding of how to create the forms and all the things that the forms can do, including the automations that can be run on the forms. And in the next video, we're going to show you how to put this all into a funnel and help you design it a little bit so you can fully understand how you can use the system and get up and running so you can take clients in.